Magomed Ankalaev versus Ion Cutelaba 2. The rematch takes place this weekend on the main card of UFC 254, Khabib versus Gaethje. And before we even get into this video, can we please all just cross our fingers in unison right now? And I want you to do this right now before I even get into the prediction. Everyone's fingers need to be crossed immediately that we finally get to see this rematch. And I say rematch, it isn't even a rematch. It's basically the first fight happening again, because the first fight was robbed from us from Kevin McDonald. What a terrible refereeing decision. We all know about it by now, of course. Ion Cutelaba plays a little bit of rope-a-dope, blocks every single punch and kick other than a couple that get through, but he's playing a game, lands the best punch of the fight before the end. Referee jumps in while Ion Cutelaba is blitzing forward, trying to throw punches and landing punches at the same time on Ankalaev. Referee steps in for no reason whatsoever, because I guess he thought he was rocked. But even if he thought that Ion Cutelaba was rocked, even if Ion Cutelaba was rocked, you don't jump in when Cutelaba's going forward trying to land some punches and big bombs. That's just not how it works, Kevin McDonald. You robbed us of the first fight, and so far the old Rona syndrome has robbed us of 3 other fights that were supposed to take place. 1 in April, 2 in August. Now we're finally going to get it in October. I feel like I don't want to jinx anything, so maybe we should just move on to something else. I hope you guys' fingers are still crossed, because I want them crossed I want you to have arthritis by the time this video is over. That's how much I want you crossing your fingers. Snap them off! But that's okay. Ankalaev versus Cutelaba 2. Ankalaev versus Cutelaba. We're removing the 2. Great fight. Haven't seen it before. Gonna go into it for the first time. Ankalaev versus Cutelaba. Amazing matchup. In the first exhibition match that they had that was a joke and wasn't really serious, because the ref is obviously a clown, so it must have been just some kind of travelling circus that was there on the day that hired an exhibition match between Ankalaev and Cutelaba. So you know what? The first exhibition match was amazing while it lasted. It didn't last very long, but it was a very fun match, of course. A lot of techniques thrown back and forth, a lot of head kicks from Ankalaev, all landing on the arms of Cutelaba. Couple of punches got through from Ankalaev, but the majority of the time Cutelaba was barely rolling out of the way of them and barely getting his hands up to block them, trying to land his big shot back. Cutelaba landed some good shots in that fight as well, including the last shot of the fight, which in my opinion was the cleanest shot of the fight. He faded away from an Ankalaev right hand, caught him with a check hook counter and smacked him at the end of the round, and Ankalaev's all over the place. Turns around, Kevin McDonald has stepped in, all of a sudden his hands are up. Very interesting. Ion Cutelaba also landed a good old oblique kick in that fight to start things off. He started things off very switched on. So switched on, in fact, that he felt it necessary to walk across the cage before the fight's even begun and engage in some over-unders with Ankalaev in the clinch for some bizarre reason. That just made it all the more exciting at the time. Ion Cutelaba is dangerous. He landed a good inside leg kick in that fight as well, but both of these guys are dangerous. But the one reason, I think this is a 50-50 fight, okay? I think Ion Cutelaba is going to win, though. That's my prediction right now. I think Ion Cutelaba is going to win, but I respect this fight enough to know that this can go both ways. Ankalaev is a dangerous man. I really do understand that. So is Ion Cutelaba, and I feel like a lot of people are all focusing on Magomed Ankalaev right now, and none of them on Ion Cutelaba. The odds have got more for the rematch, and the first fight never even happened. How is that whatsoever? I feel like none of them have watched my video. I have a video on my channel. Go to most popular. It's the most viewed video on the channel. Broke down the entire thing with my little screen in the corner, watching it all in slow motion, pausing it, showing you that none of the punches or strikes that Ankalaev was throwing were really landing whatsoever. But it was an amazing fight. I'm not taking anything away from Ankalaev here. He's a dangerous man. Other than that one submission to Paul Craig, he's looked pretty good in the octagon so far. Good wins in his career over Dalchalungiambula, who's a dangerous guy with big power, very athletic as well. Big guy for the division. Beat Klidson Farias Diabriu back when he was 14-2, which looks a little bit better as well. Did very well there. Broke Klidson's nose, by the way. Also beat Marcin Prachnio. These names don't quite have the buzz. I'll be honest with you guys, okay? He lost to Paul Craig, but he was doing good against Paul Craig as well. He essentially was beating Paul Craig before the end, so I think we can somewhat count that as a win. The same way that we can count the Korean Zombie as like half a win against Yair Rodriguez, because we kind of saw the Korean Zombie win the entire fight until the very last moment. It's basically the exact same situation, by the way. Last second of the fight, but still, amazing matchup. I'm looking forward to it, but what I want to say is that the odds are so disrespectful. So disrespectful. I believe Ankalaev is over a 2-1 favourite. That's a disgrace. I think this should be evens, and it's the main reason why I'm picking Ion Cutelaba as an underdog. And I think if there's anyone who can get it done in a smaller cage with no crowd, it's Ion Cutelaba, the guy who's laser focused at the start of the round. And Ankalaev is a man who needs to ease things in a little bit. I know we saw his finish over Marcin Prachnio, where he got the head kick finish in the first round, and all of a sudden everyone thinks he's some kind of savage. I know they watched the Cutelaba fight the first time and thought, oh my god, Ankalaev's this guy that throws a bunch of stuff early. No, the only reason Ankalaev did that is because he thought that Ion Cutelaba was rocked. Otherwise, he would not fight in that way whatsoever. And I feel like the odds dictate the ignorance of people not watching Magomed Ankalaev's fights, because I go through Magomed Ankalaev's fights time and time again. Paul Craig got takedowns. He got 2 of them, and they were good takedowns. And he had moments on top, and he wasn't completely outclassed in the first and second round. Now, don't get me wrong, Ankalaev was doing very well. But Paul Craig was, what, 15-9 down on strikes? That's not a major margin. Is it a clear win for Ankalaev? Yes. But there were some competitive moments. I think if Ion Cutelaba is on the feet against Paul Craig, he'll probably KO him, because Paul Craig's been KO'd before. He doesn't deal well with wild strikers. But against Magomed Ankalaev, there was a bit of a feeling out process for the first 2 rounds before Ankalaev started to get the better of things in the third before falling into a triangle. Craig gets it done. El Cutelaba, no Dagestani or Chechnyan is safe from El Cutelaba. He's a dangerous man, haunts their nightmares, lurks on the cliffside, waiting for them to make a mistake, and all of a sudden they're in a triangle and it's over. Dangerous. Very, very dangerous is Paul Craig. But still, watch Ankalaev's fight against Klidson Farias Diabriu. I don't feel like people are watching his fights. His fight with Klidson Farias Diabriu outstruck him 30-23, unanimous decision win, broke his nose in the first round with really the first clean punch that landed. Ankalaev caught him with an uppercut on the nose. It was basically like Paulo Costa versus Yoel Romero, but more of an uppercut, where Yoel Romero fell into Costa towards the ground. Same with Klidson Farias Diabriu. That's why it was scored a knockdown. Very good indeed. Ankalaev looked really good in that fight, but still, one judge gave a round to Klidson Farias Diabriu, and in my opinion, Ion Cutelaba would mop the floor with Klidson Farias Diabriu. And Klidson outlanded him in the second round 11-9, and one judge gave him that round. I don't give him that round. Okay, I get why 2 judges did give him that round. I agree with them, because Ankalaev was on top towards the end, but it wasn't due to his own takedown. No, Klidson Farias Diabriu defended some takedowns, got back up after some takedowns as well. The only reason he ended up on the ground in that fight is because he was going for some crazy hip tosses out of nowhere, trying to end up on Ankalaev, and he ended up on bottom, giving Ankalaev some control time. Ankalaev did get a good takedown, don't get me wrong, but in the third round, Farias Diabriu, broken nose, Ankalaev shoots him for a takedown, gets it, Farias, underhook, right back to his feet, separates, gets away. Ankalaev looks for the clinch against the cage. That's where he likes to control the fight. He likes to wear guys down against the cage, land a lot of total strikes, because although the significant strikes tell a bit more of a closer story, I mean, the total strikes, Ankalaev was doubling him due to little knee taps in the cage, little body shots, you know, the Usman techniques that we're all used to by now. Ankalaev's a dangerous guy, I'm very aware of that, but for him to be that big of a favourite, I'm picking Ion Cutelaba to go out there and KO him in the first round again. I'm not backing down from my prediction. I genuinely think that's exactly how this fight goes, because Ankalaev, even in that Farias Diabriu fight, after pulling away from the cage in the first round, Diabriu, 1-2, bang, rocks Ankalaev. He goes jelly-legged for a bit. People aren't watching his fights, I don't feel like. He got cracked with a big shot from Farias, who has less of a reach than Cutelaba, who's shorter than Cutelaba as well, who's not as effective in the first round as Cutelaba. Farias is not really one of these really blitz dangerous guys in the sense that Cutelaba is. I feel like in the current situation of the world and the animosity that's been building up in this fight, emotions will become a factor, and Ion Cutelaba will thrive under those factors way more than Ankalaev will, who's a little bit more of a technician. He likes his space in the cage. Now the cage is a tiny bit smaller. I think the Fight Island cage is actually the same size, but still, no crowd in the arena whatsoever, everything dead silent. I think that favours the younger, more savage, more switched on early fighter in Ion Cutelaba. He'll get the job done, in my opinion, play a little bit of mind games early, and I think he's going to crack Ankalaev on the chin. I don't think he's going to play rope-a-dope. Maybe he'll do a little bit of rope-a-dope and then sort of haha, make a laugh, make a joke, point at the camera or something, do a little bit of an acknowledgement that that's how he lost the first fight. But I think that Ion Cutelaba's going to catch Ankalaev after chewing him up with some inside leg kicks. I like Ankalaev. I think he's good. But people, I don't feel like I've really watched his fights that much, because I keep seeing predictions for Ankalaev. Cutelaba's shown bad takedown defense. Ankalaev's going to ragdoll him. Okay, well, Ankalaev couldn't really ragdoll Craig. He was on top, but he wasn't beating the hell out of him. Craig would sweep a couple of times, end up on top himself, take down Ankalaev a couple of times, fairly back and forth, but Ankalaev was getting the better of it, don't get me wrong, he had clearly more control time. Against Farias Diabreu, of course, Abreu gets back up. I don't think people understand who Ion Cutelaba is, and I look at some of these wins that Ankalaev has in the division so far, and I see names again. Prachnio, where right now? Abreu, where right now? I'll tell you exactly where Klidson Farias Diabreu is after going to a decision with Magomed Ankalaev. He's getting KO'd in the first round by Jamahal Hill and losing to Shamil Gamzatov, and his only win since then was against Sam Alvey by a pretty competitive decision. So, like, what are we talking about here? Give Ankalaev all the credit in the world, don't get me wrong. Beat Daltralungi and Bula, pretty good win. More, where's Lungi and Bula right now? Haven't heard from him. Ion Cutelaba, great wins as well, by the way. Really good wins. Beat Khalil Roundtree. We know that Khalil Roundtree can beat UFC level guys. We know that Khalil Roundtree can go out there and outstrike Gokhan Saki in the first round and KO him stiff. We know these things can happen. Khalil Roundtree can go out there, beat up on Eric Anders, who's, although a middleweight and has swayed between light heavyweight and middleweight in the past, still a guy who is UFC level, top 25 at middleweight right now. Beat some good guys, went to a close decision with Jotko. We know how good Ion Cutelaba's opponents are. Gaethje Antigulov, not looking so good anymore, but at least Ion Cutelaba finished him in the first round. I mean, Maxim Grishin had some trouble in the first round against Antigulov, and Antigulov's been known to give some people trouble before as well, including, ding ding ding, I believe Paul Craig not too long ago. Got him down, landing some good shots. Paul Craig, of course, El Cliffy, so of course a Chechnyan or Dagestani is just going to be forced into his triangle on the ground because Paul Craig just seems to be their kryptonite right now. I don't understand it, but still. Very dangerous guy in both corners here. Very, very dangerous. I know Ion Cutelaba lost to Jared Cannonier. We haven't seen Ankalaev fight that level of opponent whatsoever. Cutelaba was doing good against Glover Teixeira in the first round, outstriking him. I don't know who outstrikes who in Ankalaev versus Glover Teixeira, and before you say, dude, you're being dumb, Ankalaev does, well, Farias Diabreu outstruck him in the second round. So I don't know. Cutelaba was all over Glover Teixeira early. I know he's on that level. I think that Ion Cutelaba is going to go across the cage, get right in his face, be laser focused, and land some good leg kicks and some oblique kicks, stamping on that knee, and catch him in the open. I really do. Ankalaev is a big boy. Cutelaba is a bigger boy, in my opinion. Although Ankalaev's very tall, he's very lean, very small at the shoulders. He's got a short reach for a guy who's 6'3", 75-inch reach. Ion Cutelaba has the same reach as well. I just think that Cutelaba's going to be too focused, too switched on. I just spat right at the fucking camera. That's how excited I am. I'm frothing at the mouth here. Cutelaba is going to get the job done. I'm sorry, guys. Cutelaba is going to get the job done by first round TKO, and I'm putting big bucks on it. And when I say big bucks, I'm talking over £3 I'm putting on top for Ion Cutelaba to get this done in the first round by KO against Ankalaev. I smell it in the air. I think it's going to happen, and I'm more focusing on the fact when I pick underdogs, I don't just pick random crazy underdogs. You'll rarely ever see me just pick a guy because he's an underdog and the odds are so crazy. But I think this is a 50-50, and I actually give Cutelaba the edge in terms of experience at the top level, the way he's looked against certain opponents. Obviously, he's lost fights as well, and we can go through them a little bit. Cannonier, Teixeira, and I don't even want to say Ankalaev because he didn't lose. It wasn't even a fight, but still, these are good guys. Teixeira, title elimination bout coming up. Jared Cannonier, title elimination bout coming up. Misha Serkinov just beat Jimmy Crute, who's now gone back on a tear. Beat Mikhail Alexeychuk and also Modestas Pakauskas. Two annoying names in a row that I had to find in my fucking brain there for a second. Cutelaba's going to get it done. The odds are ridiculous. I don't know how they've got even more for Ankalaev, even though the first fight didn't happen. I don't get it! This is such a no-brainer in my opinion. Cutelaba's going to flatten this cunt. Like and subscribe, click that button up there, and toodle to the Pippington. Goodbye. Mr. Button. See you later. Team CT Hulk. See you later.